consider to be the best game of this generation?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm going to take our first party out.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to pick this one. I haven't thought about this. So I'm going to pick this one. You might say it's not. It is of this generation because it came out in this generation. It was also on last gen.
And welcome to another episode of XboxEra Headlines. The date is February 13th, 2025. And once again, I'm subbing in today for Jon while he puts everything on red. And Jesse and I will be talking through all of you through the latest in gaming news from across the industry. And it's been a busy, 2 days, literally. We were here just a couple of days ago. As a bonus for our patrons, we'll also have an audio version of the show available in the preferred podcast app soon after. If you want to become a patron legend, simply head over to patreon.com/XboxEra. Okay, let's just jump right into it. Earlier this morning, we had the next big news from Xbox, which I guess was the Avowed embargo date for the reviews. The embargo was 9 a.m. It's now been a couple hours since it's been out, and it's both as expected and also still surprising to me in ways it really shouldn't be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I fully expected around an 80 when it was coming out. I'm showing off the incredible work that Pre-Drag did.
Good work.
So I gave him a full week, and he took full advantage of it. God, this game is very pretty. Oddly enough, I'm 40 hours into another game, so I'm trying to remember everything about Avowed.
Yeah, I can imagine. Before we talk about the reviews themselves, let's just quickly go over the Metacritic. It did pretty decent. It has an 81 right now on OpenCritic. I think it might have dropped below an 80 on Metacritic. Of course, I say decent, but these days, aggregate rhetoric has been so toxified that anything below an 85 is considered bad, which is not the case. But yeah, that's the stage we find ourselves in, where if you haven't seen our review yet, Jesse played it, really liked it, gave it an 8.8. Solid review, a fantastic visual presentation on the website. Definitely check that out if you're in chat and you haven't seen it yet. But other than that, how have the reviews been, Jesse? You keep track of them?
So pretty much Avowed is exactly where I thought it would be, where these types of games generally don't get enough 10 out of 10s or 5 out of 5s to up the average. So it's reviewing really well without having the 52 10 out of 10s that a game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has, which really raises its... Are
you making that number up? Like it's just a
No,
guess?
I counted it. It's 52.
52?
There are 52 10 out of 10s and another 50 plus over 9s. I think it's almost 100 plus over 9s for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So when people, it's just math. So obviously when you've got sites giving 6s in stuff, it's just the average score is there and people will go, this is average at 81. So people aren't really liking it. And it's a mix. Like most things, it is a mix of people who are loving it, people who are liking it, and people who didn't like it. No one hated it, really.
It is interesting. I saw some a lot of conflicting stuff, which to be fair is relatively common in reviews. You had the GameSpot review who didn't like the story but liked the combat, for example. Then you had other reviews that liked the story, didn't like the combat, and that mix and match happened.
There's been 88 singular opinions, and it is always it's always frustrating as someone who is on these sites and now counts on both of them.
Yeah,
the score is the least important part of a review. A review is a ton of text to then explain its score. Like the review text itself should be what matters, but there are so many of them that people are not going to go through and read more than 4 or 5 at the most. Most people might not read a single one. They just look at the scores. That's on the high end for sure. But also, who gives a shit about scores? For the most part, if you just want to know about Avowed, feel free to drop any questions in chat. We already had a super chat before the show started from Lucius Augustus, along with a membership renewal message.
Yeah, both. So Lucius first says, I finally believe Phil when he said, even if Starfield is an 11 out of 10, it won't matter. Some of the reviews for Avowed blow my mind. And then he also says, excited for Avowed. I won't let a few reviews that don't make sense keep me from playing and enjoying a great game at 1 p.m. Don't tell my boss. And yeah, 100%. Honestly, reviews have mattered less. And this is weird to say as like an outlet that does reviews. And once
review scores definitely like you look at Human Fall Flat, it's in the 60s and it sold 55 million copies. Like there is utility in reviews. There always has been.
Yes.
The people getting bonuses and being fired over Metacritic though is just the dumbest shit. So instead of worrying or talking about review scores or anyone else, because it's their opinion, I don't think they're lying or they're wrong. I just would politely disagree. To talk about Avowed, the video game itself, you are a godlike, not godless, as I saw reviews say. The godless are a culture from the past in Aeorn history. So,
interesting.
What is Avowed? Avowed is the third game in this Pillars of Eternity franchise. Takes place in a fantasy land called Aeora. You are visiting a place hitherto not visited called the Living Lands. There's a plague going on called the Dream Scourge.
Isolated place, right? For the most part.
It's far off from your Adirian kingdom. So you are the envoy of the Adirian kingdom. You are a godlike, which means during your gestation as a being inside your mommy, you were touched by a god. The difference here is you have never talked to them. Most godlike know their god and they speak with their god. You don't.
Playing a little bit of the first Pillars of Eternity game, right, which sets up the lore. I'm actually playing as a godlike, and immediately when you pick your character, you can like choose which god essentially is your godlike, and it affects your visuals too. It's really interesting that the big part of this game is you don't know.
Yeah, and so you are coming to the Living Lands as the envoy of the Adarian Emperor to figure out what this Dream Scourge is. It is a full-on action-focused RPG, dense on choice. Your choices really do matter. It's been weird to say some reviews say they didn't, because everything changes in later chapters depending on your choices. Like A, B, C, like all these different paths the world around you takes based on your choices, even when you don't realize it, because there's no, he'll remember that type of thing. It's literally, oh, what do you think I should do? And you say, oh, come with me, versus, oh, you should stay here. And it doesn't feel that big of a choice in the beginning because you don't even know this character. But then it radically shifts where the rest of the game goes, type of stuff.
We had a couple of questions in the chat. One was asking, how long's the story? Is it sub 20 hours or longer?
My first playthrough was 47 hours.
Yeah. Okay. You hit max. Is there a max level in the game?
I don't know. No, honestly, I hadn't looked into it. I was pretty high up. I had more than enough unlocked to kick ass. My main, so it is an RPG. Every time you kill something or do a quest, you get experience. There is those levels, which are used for getting your attribute points, of which there are 6, and for unlocking abilities, of which Hunter and Warrior have essentially 4 main abilities. And then the Mage has like fucking 20 or something. They have so many spells. Okay. And you can mix and match. So I know some people are like, wow, I just went down the warrior path and I had hardly anything to do. And it's like, well, yeah, because you want to mix in. You can mix in the mage. And you can mix in.
Emphasizing that you should be mixing and matching because you can change loadouts and stuff like that.
The only issue I have, my only main concern with the game, and it's not that, I know I was talking with Janet Garcia on Blue Sky about it. It's like, people seem annoyed that you have to actually level your gear to fight certain characters. And it's like, it's an RPG.
Like RPG mechanics?
Yeah. My only issue was enemies don't respawn and items are finite, so it can be hard to level up everything you want if you want to experiment with builds, because you can reset your abilities and reset your attributes whenever you want.
That's also like a core RPG mechanic, though, in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, I actually kind of prefer that, because after playing so many games where enemies do respawn and you can kind of grind for whatever you want, having that forced, like, hey, you're only given certain amounts of minerals or materials, I don't mind it. Not gonna lie, I appreciate it.
I wouldn't mind it so much if the game didn't also encourage you to experiment a lot, but it's really hard to have light, medium, and heavy armor all leveled up, and
maybe
because you get 2 loadouts you can change to on the fly when you press Y, and having both your loadouts set up and having all that type of stuff, it gets pretty goddamn difficult to keep everything leveled. That was pretty much my main issue. And I see Brandon Martin, member for 1 month. How does the 40 FPS mode run the Series X? Does it have FSR on the console? I'm guessing everything has some form of spectral upscaling and whatnot. 40 FPS was fantastic, and by far and away my preferred way to play. 40 FPS unlocked. Mwah, amazing.
The game looks really good. In fact, we're seeing a lot of, I think, universal praise for its visuals. which is kind of funny because what was that first initial impression over the game years ago in its early build? Oh, it looks so bad. There's no hit detection when you hit enemies.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's funny because they said that was one of the things they're working on. It was an older build, but it is an incredibly pretty game. It's a huge step up in faces and animation for Obsidian. It doesn't reach the levels of something like Baldur's Gate as far as facial fidelity goes, because I highly doubt that they were mocapping every single
How was the
scene.
voice acting in the game?
Fantastic. Excellent voice acting, excellent writing. Like it has the Obsidian staples. So it's like you expect great writing, you expect a good story, you expect good voice acting, and it has all that. Like the first person you run into in the main area once you get through the tutorial island is the Brandon Keener, the voice of Garrus Vakarian, and he is your first companion. It's like they know what people would kind of want.
I forgot what that race is called. Anuma?
I forget.
Right?
Yeah,
they're the big guys.
asked me a week ago, I would have remembered. The fish people.
Fair enough. Go through so quick.
Yeah.
Someone asked, are the execution animations or are they like cinematic kills? Like, are they you lock yourself
when
into
you
those?
stun somebody, when that yellow bar under their health fills up, you do your big attack animation, and it does a lot of damage. It's not always a kill. It is sometimes a kill. As you can see here in this conversation, I'm talking with this guy, and because my perception and resolve are high enough, I talk this big guy out of joining in on the grave robbers who want to kill me. And so he then runs away, and I'm pretty sure I ran into him later, and he was very happy. I talked him out of it.
So one question I'm curious about, someone who's currently playing through the first game, is I've noticed I'm actually able to cheese some things by going back to an inn and resetting my character and getting resolve for when I need it, when I know I need it. Does this game allow you to do stuff like that too, or is it more like your base stats, perception, resolve, intellect, might? Are those more like you pick and choose those?
Those are your main attributes that you are choosing every few times you level. It's not every time you level. As you get further in,
those too?
Yes, you can respect your attributes, and you can respect your talents whenever you want for a cost. It's pretty cheap early on. It's free-ish early on, and it's like 2,500 gold later on. It's pretty rough.
This is a question that I mean, it's kind of, well, I don't say dumb, but Jesse, I heard people complain that it's not ambitious nor innovative. Do you agree?
I don't. People just throw those words out when
exactly.
Like most good video games aren't super innovative. They're good at the things people actually like. Like finding proper innovation is so goddamn hard, because most people don't want it. Like most people want familiar and things that are good, and there are tropes and things that exist like that for a reason. It's because it's the most popular. It's what people like the most.
Also, when's the last time it has been a while since we've had a first-person swords and sorcery fantasy RPG. Like it really has been.
This is not a Skyrim-like. There is no clockwork simulation going on. This is Obsidian's direct focus on stuff with that Skyrim-y perspective.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it'll still scratch that Skyrim itch for myself, definitely.
Yeah, if you're looking for that swords and boards type of game.
Yes.
Performance on Xbox is phenomenal. Pretty much in any mode, I did not have a problem at all. Nice. I did, as someone who has a TV that can do 120 hertz and has VRR that goes down to 40, the 40 FPS unlocked mode was perfect. I found it to be the perfect balance, and I ended up playing there just as much as I did on PC, where I was, like 100. And
for anyone listening and who don't have a 120 TV yet, maybe keep an eye out for one, because it looks like as this generation continues, more and more games will be giving that 40 FPS option. But yeah, that's great to hear. I'm very much looking forward to it. Sadly, it turns out someone told me that Pillars of Eternity 2 is kind of a direct sequel to the first game, which I didn't know.
Yep.
So I might have to rush through that first. Oh yeah, what the hell? How are you the same? What? Seriously? I mean, I don't want spoilers. So I don't know for sure.
They're very smart and clever. And PoE 2 is an enormous glow up. I will say, if you're looking forward to this, PoE 1 is a great but dated CRPG, third quarter perspective.
The combat, a fight starts, I unpause, I go on my phone for a bit.
Yeah.
We won, essentially.
Yeah. PoE 2 is a massive glow up and a great game, but they are very different from this game, and you don't have to play them before this one. You will simply gain more appreciation for the backstory in this one. But I think overall they do a very good job of setting everything up, letting you know what's going on. This takes place after Deadfire. Yeah.
And speaking of, how'd they handle it? Did they just pick some canon choices for things that that happened in those two games? Did they bring them up every so often, or is it more like this is pretty isolated? It's kind of its own thing.
You're in your own area. They make canon choices. You have to, like, there's no way that they were going to be able, because this is set up on very specific things, and there are quests that are very specific, mentioning things that happened, especially in was it Deadfire? So
interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
it is very, very specific, especially in one of the main earlier. They call them side quests. They don't call them optional. They are side content that is in general just as good as the main quest. So you should want to do all of it. This is a game you will have the most fun in and get the most out of, especially on normal or higher difficulty. If you do everything, explore everywhere, do all the side content, spend a solid 50, 60, 70 hours in it. You can put it on easier modes in Golden Path, but I wouldn't recommend it because then you're missing most of the best stuff.
The combat is pretty fun, right?
The
so like, would you
combat
recommend trying it on like a harder difficulty and like kind of master that combat?
The combat's amazing, but on the higher difficulties, you really need to focus on upgrading and doing everything you can to keep your gear level up. Because on the higher levels, if anyone is above you in a skull, like they can take you out incredibly quickly, and you have to hit them a lot.
Do you mean like getting new gear, or do you mean existing gear and like
both? So you generally you will have, there's like 5 tiers of gear. The moment you craft one piece higher, stuff starts dropping at that tier. So you want to at least upgrade. Yeah. So you've got common, keen, like, you know, fine, white, blue. I think it's white, blue, pink, fuchsia, orange, like up to legendary. So you want to focus on getting an item up to each level, because there are 5 main areas. Essentially, each main area needs you to upgrade your gear to the next level. Four big worlds, and then like a 5th point of no return one. That's also a big type of stuff, and you need the gear for each one.
I'm guessing each companion has like their companion quest, right? They had it in Outer Worlds. I think they had it in the other games. How are they in this one?
Yeah, they all have their character arcs. And so the way the game works, you have camps that dot the landscape. There's 2 or 3 in each landscape. In the bottom left, next to the character's health bar, because you can have 2 companions with you at any time once you've unlocked them. In the bottom left, you'll get a little exclamation point over their head, and that's when you need to go to camp to talk to them. You can't talk to them in the open world.
That makes sense.
And you don't directly control them. You can control their cooldowns when they're available. They're not always available.
Okay.
But
all right, I'm okay with that.
This game plays surprisingly incredibly well. Like some of the best first-person platforming I can remember.
I was about to ask that.
You are a bunny rabbit. You can hop from place to place. Running does not cost stamina. Only attacks do. Running and jumping does not cost stamina ever at any point, not even in combat.
Is there any change to your movement depending on like your athletic skills or like your might or that kind of stuff?
You attack faster with higher dexterity, and you always move the same speed no matter what you're wearing. But lighter gear tends to let you have the buff for moving faster. So like there are set movement speeds. And eventually I unlocked it where I'm always at max speed. So I was running around like I was a meth head.
Like thresholds, essentially. Right.
A lot of stuff is percentage based. So I do know some people were complaining that the upgrades aren't exciting as you level. That's definitely the case if you are not playing a mage, because mages, you're just always unlocking different spells and shit. Though to do that first, you need a grimoire that has had it. Then you can learn it forever.
That makes sense. Last question, because we do got to move on, and we could talk about this for hours, I feel. Woodstar asks, how big are the open zones? Are they massive or smaller, like Indiana Jones size?
A little bigger than Indiana Jones size, probably. Each one. There's 4 main ones, then they're all pretty big. They are definitely like, they're hub zones, but as you walk around them, you'll have little checkpoints pop up, and you can fast travel to them at any time, which I'm sure people will say destroys it, but it's like it did with Starfield, all the exploration, but it doesn't. It just makes it so if you don't want to run for 3 minutes, you don't have to. No mounts or anything.
Okay, that's okay. As you sprint fast enough, you know the mounts.
You were always running. Also funny, I had this shadow glitch when I recorded this originally, and then I came back after a later patch and it was fixed. This was on, if you see, you can tell when it's PC footage or console footage based on the button prompts at the bottom.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay, we can keep talking about Avowed, but we'll leave it for here. And maybe if enough of us play enough of the game quick enough, we might have like a big spoiler cast. I know I said the same for
We'll talk about it again on episode 250 of the podcast this weekend, I'm sure.
Yeah, because John has also been playing. Did John also play it?
Nope,
or no?
just me.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next big bucket item from the last couple of days, which was the Sony State of Play that aired yesterday for about 45 minutes. We didn't watch it live, and kind of a good thing we didn't.
I had no interest in it because I know it's a state of play, not a showcase.
Yeah. I mean, just right off the bat, I didn't like it. I thought it was one of the worst shows I've seen, and I mean that as a show, not just in terms of what's being shown. It had some really good looking games. Shinobi looks fantastic. Lies of P DLC looks great. Saros is now my most anticipated friggin' Sony first party game, even though it's just a CGI trailer. But after watching so many Xbox shows over the past few years, they've kind of spoiled me pacing wise.
Yeah.
Where you need breathing room between trailers. You need to have a bit of a gap. You need to let things, kind of speak for themselves. Instead, it was so fast paced that I barely remember half of what I saw yesterday.
Yeah, it didn't feel like there was always forethought put into how you're going to do things, giving people time to breathe or think about it. It was just immediately in, because that is why those interstitials, the bumpers in between and starting on the Xbox shows help so much, because it gives you just a little bit of time to process it before the next thing pops up. So overall, for a state of play, it was fine. Like, those state of plays are that. They're not big showcases. They're much more the partner previews or partner directs with generally one or two first party things, and that Microsoft doesn't do on the partner shows. And it normally works because people are like, oh, the last one was great because it ended with Ghost of Yotai, and now this one, or Yote, and then this one ended with Housemarque's upcoming game. And so that is enough in general for people like, oh, at least there was one new first party thing.
I'd agree with you in terms of critic and press response, but in general, it seems like the overarching viewing response is, what the issue with Sony is they never temper expectations, right? They never set things. Actually, they don't speak, period. Like you said, they do not talk or communicate at all. So people go into all these events expecting a fair bit. In fact, and to be honest, I was expecting something out of like the 4 or 5 games we thought were announced or rumored, be Death Stranding, Ghost of Yote.
Just never that many first party at a state of play. If you have that many first party, it's a showcase.
I don't disagree. That being said, I didn't expect Housemarque, though I really should have.
Well, it was a CGI trailer for something
that's
next
the
year.
Other issue. Like, it's so far away. If it wasn't Housemarque making it, I'd be worried. It's them. They make good gameplay. I'm not worried. And Rahul Kohli's a G, so I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. But it wasn't just that. There was also the other aspect of the show. And this one is really interesting because over the last few weeks, there's been a big prevailing discussion amongst Xbox fans in terms of exclusives. And not just Xbox fans, in the industry itself. You have Schreier going out saying they're not working anymore. You have Matt Pizzatella going out and saying, hey, yeah, they're not really doing much anymore. And then you get a Sony show. Yeah, it's a state of play. It's not a showcase. It's still a Sony show. They showed something like 20-something games, 20-plus games. And out of all those games, I think only 4
was like 4 or 5
on Xbox.
It was the VR focused Nightmare one,
Nightmare, which looked amazing.
Which it looks cool every time. The Five Nights at Freddy's Mimic game.
Oh yes, that ran
their first party. Because I think the Five Nights at Freddy ones might also be VR. The first party stuff. And
the Lost Soul side, which
they are publishing, so it's still it's third party it's first party publishing.
Also releasing on PC day and date, which Stellar Blade didn't, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Lost Soul Aside it's been 9 years in dev, because at first it was just one guy, and he's like, man. and I think Sony came to him and was like, this looks really cool. You should make an actual team, and my camera turned off. Yeah,
I was gonna say I'm now talking to the embodiment of XboxEra.
It was weird, but all I had to do was click start cam again. StreamYard's weird, but it's an actual team making it now, like 40 people. So it looks very pretty.
Saros, obviously, or Saros, or however you pronounce it. Honestly, Returnal 2. Literally, it's Returnal 2.
Yeah, I wrote 8. I think I did like 8 news stories, and Jenkins had to do another like 6. Like, there was most of the stuff yesterday is multi-plat, which is where the industry is heavily shifting to.
Yeah. Even the games that didn't seem like they would be, like Tides of Annihilation, one of the last trailers they shown. Boom! Turns out it's releasing on Xbox Day 1.
Well, right away. And it's been announced for everything forever. I just forgot because it's been a while.
Oh, wait, seriously? That
Yep.
wasn't a new announcement?
No, it was on their
Oh, wow.
website. Like I looked it up while the thing was going, and their website was, just listed everything.
But it looks like they just made their YouTube channel because it has like 1,000 subs, and like the only video was their trailer.
Mhm.
I mean, like it wasn't. I don't know. Again, good games are shown. Shinobi looks absolutely incredible. Like, holy crap! They had a long segment on Monster Hunter to open it up, which is kind of weird because the game's coming out in like a week.
Well, this is very much a third-party obligation show, like normal.
Yeah, and Capcom shows up in full force.
Well, they paid Capcom to have most of their marketing, so
yeah, of course that makes sense. Onimusha's trailer was a little weird to me in the sense that it's still like more than a year out.
Yeah, and the character who looked very familiar to me is Toshiro Mifune, I believe, the actor from like Seven Samurai.
It is.
He's been dead since 1997. So it's weird that they're using his likeness.
Is it actually?
Yes, it is him. They said it in their press release. I was like, oh, it is him. Okay.
Was it him for the previous Onimusha game?
No, I think this is new for him. It's
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. I'm pretty sure he plays the same guy, right? Musashi, or not Musashi, the swordsmith dude. I think it was Musashi. Either way, I've not played a single Onimusha game. That'll probably change when the remaster of 2.
I liked them when they were new, but they were tank control stuff, which can be hard to go back to.
Yeah, I can see that. Delta had a trailer, not the best looking trailer, which is kind of interesting. Sony always seems to have like the worst versions of their trailers for third-party games. I don't know why.
Yeah, he means Metal Gear Solid Delta for anyone wondering.
Yes, sorry, my bad.
But yeah,
yes.
Also their bit rate's really bad.
Yeah,
like even though it was 4K, it didn't look great if you go look. And the Xbox version of Delta obviously is not getting the Ape Escape mode. It's getting instead they're replacing it with Mega Man.
Bomberman.
Oh, Bomberman. Sorry.
Yes. I
keep saying Mega Man. It's Bomberman.
Yeah. Which is way better in my opinion. I mean, Ape Escape's cool and all, but Bomberman's that's cool. They also had a pretty extended look at Borderlands 4, which I didn't mind because it looks really friggin' good.
I mean, like, the comedy bit at the beginning was not good.
Oh God.
Well, Randy, what do you think, Randy? I don't know, Randy. How about you, Randy? Where's the Coke, Randy?
That? God, yeah, like just don't put Randy Pitchford. We know he's making the game. Can we just keep him away from it? Marketing at least, guys. Like, come on. Split Fiction had a trailer because it's releasing in less than a month.
Yep.
I think like March 3rd. Absolutely incredible. Like, what? We just saw that game for the first time a month ago.
No, they showed it. They showed it last year. A while
December
ago.
9th. I know. So it's like it's been like 2 months, but still.
Yeah.
Still, it feels like
it leaked, and they've been talking about it for a while. But yeah.
Other than that, any highlights of the show for you, Jesse?
There were some that look like the Hell Is Us looks interesting. Mostly because I believe the art director is from the Deus Ex games, which also looked amazing. And is probably why he has Elias Toufé or Toufex. I can't remember how to say his name. The voice actor of Adam Jensen, who was also in Starfield as Sam Coe. He is the main character.
That's where I recognized. Oh my God. Yes, this actually looks super cool. This looked like the Kojima game, but it was not Kojima.
It was the first people thinking it's Death Stranding, but it's not. Trailer.
Yeah, this looks pretty cool. Let's see how it plays, of course. Other than that, what game stuck out?
Metal Eden looked interesting.
You mean from the Marathon?
Yeah, from the Ruiner devs, which it fits their style with Ruiner. So, but yeah, the other one, the Annihilation one, the one that was just insane. Tides of Annihilation, just unbelievably over the top. Like, holy shit, the scale in that game is crazy. The Leslie Benzies thing is not its own game. It is an experience inside of everything, the game. So he is making a platform. He's doing the Roblox Fortnite thing.
Oh.
It is, so the game you play is a social media hub thing called Everything. And the Mind's Eye is a campaign experience within Everything. Which people are going to say is really dumb, but it is the type of thing that if it takes off, is the only way to actually penetrate the market.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I mean, hey, hats off, give it a shot. Other than that, there were 2 games, I believe, out of the ones shown that are also coming to Game Pass. Both games are coming to PS Plus, I think, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, Blueprints and Abiotic Factor are both day one on both PS Plus and Game Pass. Just like FBC Firebreak.
Yeah. I feel like we might see more and more of that in the future, especially as Sony puts more money into their PS Plus subscription. It's good. It's genuinely a good thing. More money for these small developers, right? I'm guessing the larger ones will obviously sign various legal agreements like Resident Evil's, no other subscription service, blah, 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 blah. But for these smaller games, it's a good thing overall.
And the Liza P DLC Overture looks amazing, and I immediately emailed my contact from when I did the review saying, hey, I want to do that.
I feel like it's going to show up on my game to list once again, most likely. I need to replay it with the Wolong Enclave. I think I started to play through, but I didn't get too far. Too much stuff to play, man.
Yeah, I haven't been able to play it since I streamed it like the week of launch.
Keeping up with the PlayStation news, we had a little bit of PlayStation financials come out. They had their best holiday ever last quarter, and their overall sales passed 75 million.
Shipping. He wrote sales.
Oh,
the article is shipped.
No way.
Yeah.
I mean, it still means it'll eventually sell 75, but those are different things.
No, Lost Records was never announced for Game Pass, but it is day one PS Plus next week for Bloom, and then Rage, the second part, comes out in April.
That is obviously including the PS5 Pro. That being said, it is really good financials. It's like highest monthly active users at 129 million. Increase of 5% from previous year. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that going to PC is paying off for sure.
Exactly. And right now, even though the PS5 is selling very well, it is technically behind the PS4 right now. I know there was some debate in the last year or so of like whether it's keeping up, ahead of it, or behind it. I think for a little while it was ahead of it. But the reason why that's relevant, in my opinion, even though it is still a fantastic, really good number, is it continues to show that the console market specifically is one that does not grow, doesn't really have any meaningful growth to it. Users are growing. More and more people are playing video games. That is true. Part of that is diversifying away from one piece of hardware, which we are seeing more and more from Sony. I mean, I really think give it 2 to 3 years and we'll see day one for most of the stuff. In fact, I fully expect Saros to release day one on PC. In fact, if it doesn't, they're making a big mistake.
Yeah, a lot of it for them, mostly like it will for Xbox, comes down to bandwidth on developers, and do they have the time and the ability to have it ready on both?
Purchased a studio that's primarily known for PC ports,
but then Spider-Man 2's PC port was really bad.
Yeah.
You still got to give them time, and Spider-Man 2 felt like it was. It's really. I would not be shocked if Spider-Man 2 was slowing down on console after selling very well there, and so like, okay, let's get this PC port out, because longer we take, the less it sells lately, because their PC ports have mostly been going down in amounts sold.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Tomorrow we are going to be playing on stream tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's Friday. Yeah. Night Rain, Elden Ring. But in the meantime, we've also had a new trailer, and I think what's a Eurogamer that did the preview for it?
A lot of people did previews. They had a big event.
Yes. People played it for a while. I didn't dive fully into these previews, but from what I've heard from people was essentially Battle Royale, Elden Ring, co-op focused. Is that about vibe? 1 or 3
player co-op, run based, no Battle Royale. It's got the Battle Royale ring of the thing closing, but yeah, there's no PvP. It is an incredibly fast paced 1 or 3 player game. I think
apparently
it was only 3 player at the previews.
I read that if you play as 2, it'll just match you up with someone.
Yeah. So you can have 2 people, but it has to find a third, because the game is built around either being scaled for 1 or being scaled for 3 from what they said initially.
That makes sense.
Super fast paced, incredibly quick playing. It does not have the weighty roll system of Souls games. It does not play like Souls games. It takes a lot of Elden Ring mechanics and looks and feels and Souls bosses and stuff, and then just gives you a really crazy over the top action game with set specific classes. Every
it's
run,
like a mix of Sekiro and Souls, almost, you could say, in that sense.
It's like it's Sekiro on meth. It's way faster than Sekiro. Like, it's super fast.
Oh wow!
It is an incredibly fast game. It's got jumping from Elden Ring as well as wall climbing. Like, you just jump on walls and keep going up. It's really fast. I think they had 4 classes in the preview. There's 5 total at launch in May.
Yeah.
When it comes out, May 30th, I believe. Every run is based around 3 days, and you are trying to kill as many enemies to level, which is automatic. You just choose upgrade, and it gives your class specific stats.
Yeah.
It's automatic leveling. It's and then finding better gear. So you just want to get in there, kill shit, find gear, kill the end boss of each day, and then get a successful run of killing the third boss at night. It is. I am imagining it's going to be a live service thing they keep adding to. Incredibly glowing previews.
Which I generally wasn't expecting, I'll be honest. When I first saw this trailer, I kind of thought it was like Bamco just kind of making as much money as they can from Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Right?
And that got pointed out a lot where people are like, it feels like they were trend chasing, but it's still their version of something that they made
you could say
work.
It was trend chasing, right? And you could. It's Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways. But FromSoft is FromSoft, I guess. You kind of just don't doubt, right? Like,
yeah, everything they make is good, even if I'm not an enormous fan of like Bloodborne or Armored Core. They never make anything poorly.
Like the highs of Bloodborne are still incredibly high. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's still an amazing game. I would probably give an 8.5 or a 9 to.
Yeah, agreed. And
it's not Demon's. It's not Demon's Souls.
But,
yeah, it's not Demon's Souls where it's very annoying and frustrating, and you could just see their screw you mechanics too often. I do feel like
just ends too, man. What the heck? The last boss just kind of comes, dies. I'm like, okay, well, who's the real last boss? And it's a pile of goo.
Yeah. I am very curious what the how do they find longevity? Because everything now seems amazing, but what is going to be the thing that keeps you coming back? Is there meta leveling outside of it? Do they just keep adding content? Because
are there crossover cosmetics? Right? I mean, like we joke, but it is a big part of what people stay with things. What was I going to say?
It also looks like it runs great, which is not normal for them. So I'm very happy.
Yes. I think this might be finally time for when I don't play just a dude with a giant sword.
Yeah.
In a From game.
Well, even the guy with the bigger sword still has like a shield and stuff. Like you can't change it really.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, he's an eagle and he's got wings and can fly around for some moves. It's really weird. It's really pretty. I really hope that they let it run over 60 FPS on PC.
Oh,
their games they've always right? Well, this actually has good network coding. People said it felt great to play. They were probably at LAN events though, so who knows? We'll see how the online is at launch, especially if it's very popular. I'm
expecting probably some server issues tomorrow as we try to play it. Most likely.
Yeah, because it's very specific times, and it literally, they are tests to stress the servers, so we'll have to see. But that'll be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern. Myself, Ursel, and Chinggis is the plan.
Yeah. Tune in, have us take a look. Take a look at us playing the game. Okay, all right. Moving on. This is sad news, and I mean, I guess expected, but Replaced, the really cool looking game that also a bunch of people wanted to play at Gamescom, the 2D game with the pixel art, has now been delayed to 2026. This happened, I think, late last night, right?
Yeah, it was Thunderful Publishing's financials. When last time they had them, they said, still coming second half 2025, and now it says 2026.
Yeah.
They're in a very similar situation to the Stalker devs, and now have faced similar roughly 2 years of delays if it comes out next year.
Which is fully understandable. Honestly, this is the kind of game I think that no matter when it releases, it'll make waves, right? But yeah, for anyone who is hoping to get that to this year, that is not happening. It will be next year, hopefully. Okay, all right. Moving on.
I deleted a couple. There's so many today.
Yes. Sorry. I'm just trying to see what the heck SXSW
South by Southwest, which will have the movie. It's the freaking, because he loves movies.
Oh, it's the movie thing.
Yeah, the movie festival. South by Southwest will have Hideo Kojima Productions there to show off Death Stranding 2, which was surprisingly not at yesterday's State of Play.
Yeah.
It'll probably get its own State of Play later in the year, much like Borderlands 4, which is weird. Because I know they've done Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. They've done third parties, but they were exclusive third parties. It made a little more sense. But whatever. Borderlands 4 is enormous, so I get it.
This got to be a reference on North by Northwest, right? South by Southwest?
Maybe.
I mean, it has to be clear.
Yeah, and they do awards and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's a big old festival. And I was the one who kept telling you it wasn't delayed. Not that it wouldn't get delayed, Trav. I said it's not delayed, because they haven't said it's delayed yet. They said it's coming 2025, but then it got delayed.
Yeah. We got a chance to play the game at Gamescom, and
it's
we'll probably
big.
get a chance to play it again this year.
It's really big. I think that's, people look at it and it's just like a cool side-scrolling action game. It's like, no, there's a lot more to that game.
Also, I feel like you don't get art that looks that good unless you spend a lot of goddamn time on every little bit of it. But yeah, so that's where we'll see Death Stranding 2 again. Again, I'm a fan of the first game. I still don't know why this game exists. It's just whatever. Maybe it.
And this will be on March 9th.
March 9th. Okay, that's also relatively soon, less than a month. Moving on. So this was the some sad news as well, right? Crytek laid off about 15% of its staff. And they also talked about Crisis 4, which I didn't realize was even in development.
Yeah, they shown their roadmap before. It also, the internal dock version leaked and also had Rise, Son of Rome 2.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah, you actually do remember hearing about that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it turns out they announced it in 2022 that a fourth Crisis game was in development. Oh, you know what? I remember this now. Yes. Especially because Crisis is weird because 2 and 3 released so close to each other. You know what I mean? And then like people stopped talking about them. They still talk about the first game.
It's one of my favorite. I think it was Hans Zimmer main themes for the later Crisis games. Yeah, I think it was 2, and I think it started in 2, and it was like a wailing guitar that was very good. Like Crisis 1 was this really cool open world tech sandbox with a terrible story. Then they had Warhead, which was following up on that in expansion, Expand Alone. With a terrible story. And then 2 and 3 actually had far more competent stories, but I don't know if they did well enough. I remember really liking them, except for they were completely broken, especially in 3. Just go invisible and use the bow and arrow and you will kill everything.
But in terms of Crytek, if you're not a fan of games as a service games, then it's not good news for you, because one of the primary reasons of them shuffling around is to put more people on Hunt Showdown 1886?
1896 now.
1896. Okay, all right.
Relaunched.
Or random numbers. Because Hunt is doing good. Hunt is doing really good, which makes sense. And again, there's a reason that every single publisher tries to get that big games as a service hit. And once they do, they try their hardest to keep it alive and keep it going.
And Hunt's on Game Pass now. You can try it out. It's the PvE extraction genre. It's been an extraction game for a long time.
Yeah.
It, like straight up, not the Sea of Thieves extraction, like an actual, you load into this map, you try and kill these things, get their stuff, and get out before you get killed and people take it from you. Like it is just an extraction game. But with really immaculate late 1800s American West vibes.
Yeah.
It was 1886. They relaunched it as 1896.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured. Okay, because I remember reading 1886. I still remember the trailer, the commercial at Game Awards with Post Malone. Heck, I don't think I'm going to forget that commercial. I'm not going to lie. But
his murder circus.
Yeah, seriously. Moving on. Unity, and bad news once again. There is another round of layoffs over at Unity. The tool behind behavior has been cut. Does it say here how many people roughly?
Really sound like you said a different word. I don't know if they did or not. I don't remember when I copied it in.
I'm just looking through it really quick. I don't think it does, but no, that's the old one. Okay. In 2024, they lost 1,800 jobs, and you know what? Okay, so, and this is going to sound a little callous, but so far, 25 has at least been better than previous years in terms of layoffs.
Yeah.
Right? Which again, super callous sounding, but I'm hoping it's a sign of improvement in the industry.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think, and on this one, I don't think they said exactly who, just that they were going to start doing them and they were going to start telling people about it over the next few days. Okay. So that means all their workers get to sit at work and go, check my email all day, check my email all day, oh, I'm gone. Cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you expect people like that to do a good job in their careers or in their jobs at the time. But yeah, no, I mean, Unity, Unreal, the future of gaming engines is going to be interesting going forward. We'll see. In fact, Unity had that huge cell phone a few years ago, and I think they're still trying to recover from it. But we'll see. End of the day, it's something to keep an eye on.
I'm curious. Avowed is out in 1 hour, but it still can't be pre-installed on Battle.net, even though you can buy the premium version on there.
Really?
Yeah. I'm curious if it actually unlocks on there today or not, if they messed it up.
Battle.net has a fairly robust pre-install usually.
No. So it's just odd. It is their first time. Also, the game is full cross-buy, so if you buy it on Xbox or Battle.net, you get it everywhere. You get it Xbox, Cloud, PC Microsoft Store, PC Battle.net.
And I think it also is trying to do the Microsoft Online for even through Steam to try and sync saves.
Yeah, it has that. So when you go to set it up, you can use Xbox Live for your saves, and you get the little Xbox Live icon, which I mean, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be bog standard for first party moving forward.
That's pretty cool. Okay, moving on. It sucks that we gotta cover what this dude's saying, but he is still an important industry figure. Bobby Kotick had a pretty big interview recently where he said a lot of things. Actually,
He
wasn't even just a
really,
small headline.
really wants people to like him.
Yeah, definitely. But the big headline was actually there's been a few, but this one is he says EA's former CEO was so bad he would have paid to keep him in charge.
He's not wrong.
What he's talking about here?
John Riccitello, the guy who went to Unity and destroyed it.
Oh,
Yeah, no, so he's not wrong, but I mean,
he's not talking about the sports guy.
No.
What's his name? The
Andrew
AC,
Wilson.
Andrew Wilson.
No.
Yes.
No, John Riccitello, who no one on planet Earth probably likes. Also, I forgot to mention, I got the new Halo book that comes out next weekend.
Yes, I saw your tweet.
Halo Empty Throne. It takes place a little while after 5. So it's after 5, before Infinite.
Is it a Master Chief book?
I don't think. It doesn't say.
Right? I think it's following. Is it following Fred and what them again? I can't remember.
Here's the Spartan on the front. Looks like he has a battle rifle. Hey, look, it actually got it. And there's a kid without a leg.
Yeah, wow, it did. Yeah, dang. Cool cover, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it doesn't actually say who the main character is. All I know is I got an email saying, hey, do you want to let your members know that this book's coming out? And I was like, I completely forgot, so I would like to review this, please. So
really quick, does Avowed have New Game Plus that you know of?
No.
Good. Because New Game Plus comes after release almost always. It'll come, I'm sure, Woodstar.
Yeah, and they haven't said anything about DLC other than they'd consider it.
You know, one thing I actually forgot to ask you, I was planning on is, do you think if they make like an Avowed 2, or a direct sequel in this format, you think they would try to do things like with PoE 1, PoE 2, keep some of your choices and some of like the world states?
It's definitely harder in this style of game. Like this, everything's higher quality first-person RPG, but I think they would want to, but I don't know. Okay,
fair enough. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, all right. Moving on. Yeah, we only have a couple things left to go. So, Limbo and Inside Producer regain ownership of Somerville dev JUMPSHIP. This was, I think, news that we also had a little earlier. Oh my god. No. This was Thunderful owned it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Thunderful's bought a lot. They actually just renamed one studio, I think, but yeah, they're also struggling like everyone.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. But they transferred all shares to JUMPSHIP as part of their cost-saving programs back in last November, which also had 100 people laid off. I mean, overall, this is good news. More IP in the hands of people that actually want to make and utilize the IP is a good thing overall. That's why I'm happy that Tango, or Crafton, I should say, has the Hi-Fi Rush IP, even though the next game's going to obviously be multi-plat. Actually, that's going to happen regardless. But
yeah. Well, also, I mean, when the CEO bought it, he was like, he's not expecting to make money off of Hi-Fi Rush. He just really liked it. Because that is the unfortunate reality is why is everyone chasing games as a service? And it's because that's what people put money into. They don't put money into single, like Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden. Yeah, I think is as good, if not better, than God of War 2018. If you want to, people have to compare stuff. Like for me, I really gotta play that game, I love that game. I think it's one of the best stories in the medium and some of the best acting you'll find out in anything, movies and TVs included, with very solid video game gameplay. But people didn't buy it because, as has been shown again today with Avowed, there is a group of people who are very used to things feeling expensive. And so if you emulate expensive games too well, but you don't truly feel like Avowed does not feel as expensive as Dragon Age of Veilguard. Just doesn't have all the stuff moving in the background. It doesn't have the same gigantic crazy set pieces.
Or the really nice hair physics.
Yeah, like it's a very different budget. It's a different scope. It's a smaller game overall from a smaller studio, which I think Microsoft is thankfully one of the few giant publishers that is still able to do, as Phil said in that clip that I shared on Sunday, because of Game Pass in large part. So if you're not an indie-sized dev like JUMPSHIP making something like Somerville, but you're also not huge, full, expensive $200 million AAA. There's just a group of people that will never take your game for what it is. They will look at it and they will compare it to, this doesn't feel expensive enough, so therefore it is cheaper in some way. And that's so right. It's just something I disagree with.
I think the issue with someone in chat was talking about Callisto and them not funding it. Callisto also seemed like it wasn't that good of a game. Like, if you're gonna make a game that doesn't make you money, you at least want that game to give you like prestige, right? Or like more name brand. With Callisto, it was kind of the opposite, where it's like, oh, this is related to PUBG. What? You know? While a game like Hi-Fi Rush 2 would probably be a fantastic game, and it would give a lot of positive press and positive brand to Crafton, which generally doesn't have it that much overall.
Finally, I mean, they're just keep making bajillions of dollars with PUBG Mobile India and other things.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and the last thing we'll talk about today, as we head into the weekend, is kind of a fun little tidbit, which is there's an ongoing interview going on with Saber's CEO and co-founder Matthew Karch, and he's had a couple interesting lines relating to Microsoft and Halo. So one thing he said was that when they approached Microsoft to pitch remastering the original Halo game, he essentially said he'd do it for free, because he says, and I quote, "It's the biggest franchise in the world at the time. It's like putting a Harvard diploma on your wall. Everyone in the world is going to want to work with me after what they see that I've worked on the last Halo game." So hence that pitch. Microsoft said, no, you got to do something. You got to pitch an actual number. They pitched $4 million, which is probably like the cheapest pitch for them. They got the thing, which eventually led to them getting Halo in the second game. And then also an interesting contractual oversight, it seems, which led to them making a fair bit of money on the 360 anniversary.
They were supposed to make, there was a contractual oversight that actually kept them from getting any royalties on Halo CE anniversary. And when asked to work on Halo 2 for the Master Chief Collection, they politely asked Microsoft to fix that oversight. He said Microsoft, full of very nice guys over there, did. And that made them like tens of millions of dollars, which led them to be financially independent for a long time, even though they still then got locked up with friggin' Embracer and had to buy their way back into being private again. Their freedom.
Saber's a great company. They're a great publisher. I'm hoping they're still working in some way with Xbox and the upcoming Halo games.
They're going to have me do a goddamn construction review later in this year when that Roadcraft game hits, because I really like their Mud and SnowRunner games, and this is essentially Mud Runner but with construction vehicles doing construction work, because Mud Runner actually has a lot of construction work. It's just you getting things there to then just do it automatically, whereas this one seems like you're actually doing the construction now, which is cool. Yeah, that's good. Saber works on a lot more than people realize. Half the time I'm friggin' doing reviews and I see Saber on it. I'm like, oh, of course.
Yeah. A lot of studios, especially smaller ones, will do whatever they can or have to keep the lights on.
Yep.
Right? Like if you're a game studio and you don't have a project lined up, something's wrong. Like you need to be constantly having work to do. I mean, it makes common sense. Any kind of business needs to constantly be working to, generate revenue. But anyways, enough about that. I think that about covers it for today, Jesse. It is Thursday, February 13th. And the Phil Spencer interview that we recorded weeks ago, once again, it's not live. I already know the chat's going to be full of questions of like, ask him this, ask him this while it's airing. But that's going to be airing tomorrow, Saturday, probably realistically at like 6 p.m.
We'll see.
Eastern.
We won't make people wait too long, but it won't be early.
Yeah. It'll be like probably halfway through the show. It's going to be a great show, period, because you got the Jon coming back from DICE. You've got the Sony show. You have
South of Midnight previews, Avowed Reviews, and then a little bit of news. So,
also in the Kotick interview, you guys might talk about it. Apparently, Kotick offered Phil Spencer a job to run Activision.
But everyone who knows Bobby Kotick says he's full of shit all the time. Allegedly, supposedly, he's like, oh, he was in the running to be the next CEO if he hadn't gotten the Microsoft CEO job. And it's like, but then everyone who knows Bobby Kotick is like, he just talks shit. He really wants people to like him, even though he's a billionaire. It's like you don't need.
Well, I guess that's what they need, right? Vanity. That's when you don't need money or sustenance. That's the next thing.
Yeah. So for the rest of the week, I don't know. I think Fairy's working on a review of Ultros, which just surprise dropped for Xbox. I will probably do a VR stream in a little bit because I've been sitting down way too much between Avowed and the current thing I'm reviewing. I can't say. I can now say that Cengiz is working on a review for Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Nice.
And that comes out on the 18th. They're actually letting us say that, which is really weird for Sega, but thank you. So keep an eye out for that next week on a video Ursul's probably going to do, please. Thank you.
He'll probably do the voiceover. He's getting better at that.
Yep. So Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii review next week. Later today, VR stream, probably Half-Life Alyx because it's just the best game. I would like to do Batman, but it's really goddamn hard to.
You have the Night Rain stream.
Night Rain on Friday night, roughly 7 p.m. If everything works, we'll be playing on Xbox, myself, Ursul, and the aforementioned Cengiz. And then, Phil Spencer, episode 250, big old celebration of us. John's been at DICE all week. He'll talk about the things there that he's allowed to talk about. Because like always, we are working on way more in the background than we ever get to say right away. Also, Console Wars, the card game, is on a boat heading to the US and the UK to distribution centers. If you backed it on Kickstarter, it should be coming to you later in March because boats are slow.
It's finally coming out and pretty decent timing, I'm not gonna lie, especially after our first Kickstarter. It took a long time.
But that's it.
But yeah, that's about it. Really quick, it's been, we did talk about State of Play. It was earlier in the show. Second thing we talked about. Keep an eye out for that.
Roughly 20 minutes in or so.
Yeah, yes, it's not too much. After we talk about Avowed. But anyways, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good day, and enjoy Avowed for those who are playing it early.
Yep, it unlocks in 45 minutes. Go have fun, and ciao for now.
Once I had a love, and it was a gas. Soon turned out, had a heart out of glass. Seemed like the real thing, only to find mucho mistrust, love's gone behind. Once I had a love, and it was divine. Soon found out I was losing my mind. Seemed like the real thing, but I was so blind. Mucho mistrust, love's gone behind. In between, what I find is pleasing, and I'm feeling fine. Love is so confusing, there's no peace of mind. If I fear I'm losing you, it's just no good. You're teasing like you do. Once I had a love, and it was a gas. Soon turned out, had a heart of glass. Seemed like the real thing, only to find mucho mistrust, love's gone behind. Lost inside, adorable illusion, and I cannot hide. I'm the one you're using, please don't push me aside. We could have made it cruising, riding high on love's true bluish light. Once I had a